It's way out of my wheelhouse. I took the car on because it's really complete, and I don't have to go fishing. I just have to restore it. I have to take it apart and put it back together.
They don't make much of anything.
Right. They make the wear stuff. They make seat kits and tops and stuff. But all that really hard to find stuff is there, and it looks restorable. But I don't know anything about this car.
This is a cool car. It's very solid.
So I am curious about one thing. God, that's so cool, the tack on the console. That's just neat, right?
It's sort of cool though, but it's hard. If you're driving the car and you're racing it, you got to look down at the tack there instead of looking forward. That's why they moved them up into the dash years later. And you know this tack, it's not just a standalone tack. It uses a sending unit.
Oh, that does. So did that sending unit create the
pulse?
The pulse that it would take to turn it? So how collectible and desirable do you think these things are?
It's got a lot going for it. It's a 383 4-speed, red. I mean, it faded to orange. I believe it looks to be pretty original paint. I mean, I didn't go real hard on it, but...
Yeah. When you're talking about some of the trim and ornamentation on Christine, there probably are 4 different treatments. You have the chrome, which you see in the way of the bumpers. They're a steel that have been chromed. When it comes to a lot of the moldings on, especially the grille work, especially that, it's an aluminum from the factory, but then it's anodized.
My name's Will Burke. I work at Anodizing Solutions. I've been here for 4 years coming this month. I think when I started, we were at 5 employees, and it just grew really fast from there. 72 employees is where we're at right now. So yeah, we've definitely grown since we started, which is a good thing. We anodize an assortment of aluminum products. We have various type 2 and type 3 processes we do. You grow an oxide layer, it goes into the material as well as it grows on the surface, and it creates a porous structure on the aluminum itself, but it's created by the aluminum. It just essentially turns it back into oxide. Then from there, now you have your anodized layer. You take it to either a die or you seal it as is. So whatever the customer's preference is or whatever the part process is. Ano itself actually absorbs dye into the pour. And then from there you seal it in. So you essentially get the dye trapped in the pour, and then now you close the pour over top of it. Anodizing is transparent, so whatever you have in there you can see into. So if you have a shinier surface underneath the ano, you can actually see. That's why it's bright coming out of ano as well.
Thing is this is 50-year-old aluminum that's been exposed to the elements. So it has to come completely apart like it did when it first started life. Then every single piece and component has to be polished, has to be stripped of its existing anodizing, then it has to be polished to a mirror finish and then sent up north to be re-anodized. If you don't do it that way, you're not doing it correct, you're not doing it OEM. It's not my field of expertise, so there are things on it that I'm looking for feedback to make sure I don't order a bunch of parts based on the parts that are on the car to find out they were second-day add-ons. I would have a pretty good feeling of what that should be, but he really is the expert in this area. Being this is a 383 car, this car could have been, am I right, a slant 6? Was this the years, this is right before you could or couldn't get certain things, like you couldn't.
No, this year you could have gotten a max wedge in this.
A max wedge in this car would have been available.
They didn't really have a performance car until '67 with the GTX and the RT, but you could get the performance engine in a car. So a 383 4-barrel, 4-speed with a dual-point distributor. It's a performance car because of the engine option. After that, you could go to the 426 street wedge, which is a bigger 413 or a smaller 440, basically the same engine with a 4-barrel. And then above that, you got the max wedge, which was really more like a race motor.
So the nastiest thing you could have gotten this was a max wedge engine.
Yeah.
And it would have been a 426 max wedge.
Yeah.
What was the year for the 413 max wedge?
62 only.
Let's see if I can get this hood up.
See the engine call out on the...
I did, I love it.
The hood emblem on the 64 Plymouth is cool. It has an engine call out on it. It had a little blank space where aluminum foil or a foil, really like an aluminum decal, went in with the engine size. They're sort of tough to come by because they got discarded or broken off. They're easy to break off throughout the years. They make the new decals for them, but they don't make the emblem.
What do you think the AB is?
A vendor code?
Could be, yeah, internal. But there's your whole Mopar writing. That's cool.
383 4-speed, you got the dual-point distributor.
Would a 383 automatic been dual-point in 1964 with an automatic? Yes or no?
I think a 4-barrel would have been. Mm-hmm. I think a 4-barrel would have been.
Let's check them. Original carburetor. Oh, this is where Tony just shines. Yeah, I mean, looking at it, it seems like it is. But
that's an old AFB.
What would you call the number if you had to?
If I had to guess, 3858.
I wouldn't have a clue, but it looks like 3811.
3811, okay.
I wouldn't even have the 38 right, yeah. So in the case of the 1964 Sport Fury convertible 383 high-performance 4-speed, there were only 3,858 of those cars made.
See how the voltage regulator's over here?
Yeah.
Now on a max wedge car, because the carburetors are staggered, okay? The intake comes back far here.
So it would be in
So they moved it over here.
So it's definitely rare. You definitely aren't going to go to every car show in town and find one. It's not the rarest one. It's not one of 8 like our 71, but it's a darn rare car. These holes are made at the assembly line, so they wouldn't be there on a real max. These 2 holes would not be there on a max.
Yes, they would.
Car. They would.
They're there, and then they added the other, because all the firewalls are made with those 2 holes.
So again, knowing exactly what should be on there is more important than ever, and my ability just to Google something or look at a picture, there's probably not very many of those cars to compare to out there. Okay.
They added the other 2 on max wedge.
So if you were out looking in a junkyard and you came across the firewall, and that would be one of the pieces of evidence that you could go with. Is there any other changes?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Max wedge doesn't have a heater, right?
Oh sure, yeah.
I thought those were heater, or
Nope.
the RO cars. Is it
Right, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm off a
Because they
little
were the
bit.
race cars.
Windshield washer jug is so different. It looks like something for Christine. Looks like something
Yep.
for our 58.
Yeah, Jiffy
what are those?
Jet.
What is it?
Jiffy Jet. The Christine one's probably long like this, and this one's more square.
A Jiffy Jet.
Yeah. On the 64 and older cars, they didn't have a plastic washer bottle like the newer cars have that we're used to. They had a bag. What Chrysler called them, or the company they got them from, was Jiffy Jet bag.
So it literally hung on that ridiculous looking bracket?
Yep. And not all cars had them. It was an option to get a washer.
Okay, look, I admit, I didn't know the Jiffy Jet. You want to ask me, you know, what color interior goes with this color casket? I can tell you that because I was down picking those out with Mom, you know, to bury my father in. But I didn't get the opportunity to run around and look at all the different cool things, and I didn't have a Jiffy Jet, okay? I had Osgood Slaughter, and obviously it's a foot pump.
Right. Yep. No, it's not, Mark.
Oh, look at there. Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah.
All right, I see.
Some of them were, I've seen manual foot pumps. That car there was obviously, it had the motor, electric motor. You know, you'd hit the button in the middle of the wiper switch, and it would send a single over and it would power the pump, and it would, you know, put the washer fluid on the windshield. See the stacks on the valve cover? On the later cars you used to, there's a bulge here.
There's no embossing there.
Yeah, it's just on the flat cover.
Original oil cap, you believe? Do you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So far, so good. The car really is very original, which the owner said that it was, and it appeared that way. But having Tony out here, it's a gift because I don't know those things off the top of my head. That's the good news. The bad news is I got a lot of research to do because even things that Tony may not know, I'm going to have to find out. We're going to have to get back in the original parts books and make sure we have all the right stuff, the right colors, the right markings. There's a lot still to it. Hello ghouls, Mark Warman here, the Ice Tray from Graveyard Cars. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it, drop a comment down below, and subscribe to our channel. We have fantastic stuff coming up, and some of it you've never seen before. I gotta go insult people. Hey Alice!